You have just been promoted to Admiral Commander of Konami. It's time to reboot the game and make Yugioh 2. What do you keep, throw away, or change? I'm removing the few keywords we have. Piercing doesn't exist. We are going back to during battle between this attacking card and the defense position monster, whose defense is lower than the attack of this card. Inflict the difference as battle damage to your opponent as God intended. You know, people always shit on key cards because Magic the Gathering has like 30 of them and it's too overwhelming to memorize all of them. Oh no.
Keywords are good, do not at me.
I would do a reverse Duel Links and make everything bigger. 80 card decks, 6 card starting hand, 16,000 life points, 7 monster zones, spell and trap zones, 21 extra deck slots, 3 main phases, and 2 battle phases. Finally, battle phase 2. Samuolo becomes my chief of game design. 1 movie reference meme per card archetype released. Baby Ceresaurus 2. You must physically punch the card to get the effect to resolve. Finally, some good dino support. Yu-Gi-Oh! 2 exists. It's called Rush Duel. And how many people play Rush Duel? Probably quite a lot, actually. I think it's quite popular in Japan. Never mind. Obviously, everyone's gonna kill lingering floodgates and ridiculous one-card combos, but missing the timing is fucked. You know, in terms of serious suggestions, we haven't had any good ones just yet. But unironically, missing the timing. Get that shit out of here. Imagine if they rebooted Duel Monsters, and gave every duelist a retrained deck. Instant appeal to us geriatrics and kids, and they could use real rules to promote sales. My most controversial take, do what One Piece does. There's a card called Monkey D. Luffy in One Piece, but there's like 5 of them. Let's just make more Dark Magicians. Just make them good. Start fresh in GOAT format again. Why do so many people like this? Because just remake the game and just do everything from the beginning isn't exactly, like, very creative, is it? I say instead of nerfing all the powerful decks, we unban and unlimit everything and then let nature take its course. Yeah, what do you mean by nature taking its course? Are we talking about, like, survival of the fittest in terms of, like, the actual duelists, like, dying out? Because that's, like, what's going to happen if you don't have a ban list. People will just, like, leave the game. Remove quick play spells and change them just to regular speed spells. Force people to play traps if they want to activate on the opponent's turn. Ban shuffling your opponent's deck during the cut. So we're just allowed to stack? What does that mean? Give monsters that are tribute summoned an inherent protection. This guy wants every tribute summon to be a god card. I don't understand the shuffling thing. I'm going to just like pretend that I don't understand what this means. Getting rid of quick plays? I don't know if I like that. Quick play spells are kind of based. I like being able to Book of Moon to protect my monster from being negated and also using it defensively to set it on my opponent's turn. That's one of the coolest parts of quick play spells. I think there was something magical about old Yu-Gi-Oh! Formats being piles of cards that work together. Yu-Gi-Oh! 2 will have no archetypes. Every deck is different synergistic piles. I don't hate this. In fact, I think I like this a lot. Remove Pendulum! Who's still complaining about Pendulum in 2024, man? Come on. Getting upset about Pendulum in 2024 is like calling for BA nerfs in this day and age. Like, come on. No more Farfa. Is he talking about me or the card? Introducing Yu-Gi-Oh! 2. Changes include Crusadia Equimax Band. Imagine getting the chance and opportunity to recreate the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! From scratch. And his suggestion is, I want to just ban one specific card. Turbulence banned. I want to target cards. Baron unbanned. My pet deck needs it. Geminis must be normal summoned 30 times. No other changes. The game has been fixed. Look at the order of priority, by the way. Equimax banned. That's like what's wrong with Yu-Gi-Oh! Unlimited normal summons. Each draw phase, the player draws until they have 5 cards in hand. Okay, so basically this person is just wanting Rush Duel, but I'm trying to think, let's actually try and give this, like, some thought here. What if every deck could just have, like, infinite normal summons? And, before y'all start saying Invoked and Fluonderies, would it become meta if it could normal summon more than once per turn, just inherently? I don't know. Maybe we should host a tournament to test it. I would print more floodgates. 30 card decks, 10 card extra decks. Archetype specific cards only. No staples. Each archetype has its own style of play interactions and different kinds of quick effects to operate as in-archetype hand traps. We have gone way too far in the opposite direction. We don't need decks to all look the same. Like, hello? Does anyone like deck building? Worldwide release. That's it. Very little is revealed. There can be teases of archetypes, but not full rosters. This way, both TCG and OCG get to discover things at the same time and not have the meta already figured out and build community.
This is literally the best and single change that can happen today that would make Yu-Gi-Oh! So incredibly fun.
But it's never gonna happen. 10 card extra, 50 card minimum for any deck running 12 cards non-archetype. Very specific rules that function that way only really work in like digital, I feel. I don't think it's something that can really work in a physical card game. Hope draw rule. One of each main deck type card is selected for your deck. If you decide, you can automatically give up your draw and add said card to your hand. Conditions must be under 2,000. Like, bro, is just Destiny. It's just fucking Destiny. Must have no cards in hand or under brick condition prior to draw phase. What? Must reveal hand to prove. What is he saying? When doesn't exist. Floodgates are formats, not cards. So every couple of months, Konami rolls a dice and then picks a floodgate and then it's active for the game. So we just get 3 months of anti-spell is just currently in play. And then 3 months later, skill drain is active for the whole format. This is an awful, terrible suggestion, but at least it's interesting. I mean, that's kind of funny. We're trying skills again, but in TCG. One of the more interesting parts of Speed Duel that no one bothered looking into more because it's Speed Duels. Have you read a skill in Speed Duel recently? That game is getting Nibiru. Just to give you context for how absolutely like ridiculous of a state Yu-Gi-Oh! Is in Duel Links. You can normal summon one monster in addition to your normal summoner set. Why did you write out like the full PSET of a card for this? You could have just said 2 normal summons. Am I wrong? Like, oh, a normal monster. All right, we're missing a word here. Sorry. Do we think this is a plant enjoyer? Turn 1, 5 CP2T26. I'm sorry, you're using way too many abbreviations here. Like, what are you saying? Cannot draw more than 5 cards per turn from card effects. Bro hates Yugioh. Link monsters are only retrain boss mod. By the way, can I just break this down really quick? There's like no deck that draws like more than 5 cards per turn that's like relevant or meta, or that's like such a niche thing. Like, banning this doesn't just fix the game. Hot take. Introduce rotation and print more interactive decks with lower power levels and few negates and no floodgates. Cards like Havness will be common. Both players can play on the first turn. No need for an uninteractive deck like Tenpai to make going second good. Would every deck getting a Havness in some sort of way be good? Would that be healthy for the game? Maybe, potentially, but you also run the risk of having Street Fighter Yu-Gi-Oh! Which, if you don't know what that means, basically just watch a full power tier mirror. You know, both players just, you know, activate a Guido, Kelbeck, multiple chains, multiple shufflers being activated, chaining Bestials in response, turn player triggers. Whose turn is it anyway? You gotta admit, there would be a lot of people who would hate that, but a lot of people would like it. Revert the game to Master Rule 2 format. Steadily rebuild the modern card pool, but without the toxic, problematic card. What does that mean in practicality? Because your interpretation of don't make problem cards is very different to my interpretation. What does that mean? Remove the word when. Chess timer clock. Gee, that's just... Have you guys ever actually paid attention to the Master Duel clock, the timer? You would have to be smashing that clock like 17 times before you even get to your like main phase, because draw phase, clock, your opponent taps it. Standby phase, clock, you tap it, then your opponent taps it. Main phase, clock, then you tap it, then you, like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's just not physically possible. 10 extra deck and some sort of hard limit on special summons a turn. Like, maybe something in the range of 10. This whole idea that we need to, like, limit the number of special summons in a turn. How about summons? Not just special summons. Just so you guys can stop saying flew under every time this single thing comes up again. Remake the card layout and give us full art so that we can appreciate the artwork and not have so much wasted space. I mean, this does look badass, but this isn't the problem with the game, spoiler. Remove graveyard effects and make Shifter a mandatory 3 of. Of course, this take comes from a VTuber. Internally, there needs to be documentation as to what an ideal gameplay loop looks like so that card design is a model to compare and contrast itself against. We also bite the bullet and embrace rotation and make it a cute supernatural thing in the show. That last part is, yeah. So in the anime, you know, after season 1 of Duel Monsters, Yugi and Kaiba experience rotation. So Blue Eyes and Dark Magician get rotated out of the format. So now Kaiba has to play ABC, and Yugi has to play Jack's Knight, King's Knight, Queen's Knight. That could maybe pass in a very alternate universe, Rotation is only something you can really bring into Yu-Gi-Oh! Is if you were to like start the game again, essentially, right? Like that's like the only way it would work, is if you like restarted the game, then you could have rotation. All floodgates cost 2,000 life points per turn, yours and your opponent's. The thing is, like, you gotta remember the game is like so fast that I don't even know if that's like enough, right? Like, if you had to pay like 4,000 life points, right? You use it for one turn, that's like maybe enough. Hard reset the game back when it was more simple to get into. We need set rotations. Dude, this is like the #1 suggestion is set rotation. This is very controversial to suggest.
I wouldn't hate it.
Remove effect monsters. Card effects will now be formatted like they are in the OCG at the cost of smaller text size. Oh my god, dude. Have you ever, like, tried to read a Yu-Gi-Oh card these days? You want the text to be smaller? A singular effect per monster. Extra deck monsters get 2 effects. Okay, spell cards modify stats. Special summon stuff. Search stuff and various stuff to the player. Baby's first description of a card game, I suppose. Remove hand traps. Every card is hard once per turn. No missing timing. No more hidden rules like rivalry. Wait, what does that mean? Fusions don't need poly. Contact fuse like Neos cards. Oh, just delete poly. Okay. Rituals are... What you're saying is I can use branded fusion without needing to draw branded fusion. Just immediately just pick up your deck and just send 2 monsters to the graveyard and then just throw Albion onto the field. Simplify rules to make it easier to get into and for judges. See, people just say like words. Like, this doesn't mean anything in practicality, right? Make the rules simpler. Okay, but what does that actually look like in a real sense? Introduce symbol language for common interactions. Oh, keywords, but pictures. Improve card quality and make cards larger. I think I would actually agree with the make cards bigger thing. You know, like Yu-Gi-Oh cards, like being the size of Magic and Pokemon cards. I think that would be a good thing. Like, that would, like Yu-Gi-Oh especially. The irony of Yu-Gi-Oh that has the smallest amount of raw surface area per millimeter squared, yet has like the most amount of words per from any card game. Make archetypes unable to be used with other archetypes. Why do people hate piles? Can I just ask? Like, this seems to be a common... This is like the third person. Piles are good. It's like the most creative decks we've had in Yu-Gi-Oh! Simplified card designs like Rush Duel, make different rarities per card pack like an OCG would be a good start. I mean, listen, I'm surprised that one hasn't been suggested more, but that one is definitely true. Adding Mulligan to make it so decks wouldn't need to be ultra consistent to be viable. Adding more keywords like a keyword for an on-summon effect and a keyword of destruction protection and so on. Let me just talk about keywords for a second. If a card just said like, you know, hexproof, and then you just know that that makes it untargetable, like that's like fine, right? Rather than this card cannot be targeted. Like that's just like 5 words, you know, compared to like this card cannot be destroyed. Okay, well, just use the word indestructible. Especially the word indestructible. Like, come on. Like, don't tell me that wouldn't be a good addition to the game.